You can't make radical changes in the pattern of your life until you begin to see yourself exactly as you are now. As soon as you do that, changes flow naturally. You don't have to force a struggle or obey rules dictated to you by some authority. You just change. It is automatic. But arriving at the initial insight is quite a task. You've got to see who you are and how you are, without illusion, judgment or resistance of any kind. You've got to see your own place in society and your function as a social being. You've got to see your duties and obligations to your fellow human beings, and above all, your responsibility to yourself as an individual living with other individuals. And you've got to see all of that clearly and as a unit, a single gestalt of interrelationship. It sounds complex, but it often occurs in a single instant. Mental culture through meditation is without rival in helping you achieve this sort of understanding and serene happiness. The Dhammapada is an ancient Buddhist text which anticipated Freud by thousands of years. It says, "What you are now is the result of what you were. What you will be tomorrow will be the result of what you are now. The consequences of an evil mind will follow you like the cart follows the ox that pulls it. The consequences of a purified mind will follow you like your own shadow. No one can do more for you than your own purified mind, no parent, no relative, no friend, no one. A well-disciplined mind brings happiness. Meditation is intended to purify the mind. It cleanses the thought process of what can be called psychic irritants, things like greed, hatred and jealousy, things that keep you snarled up in emotional bondage. It brings the mind to a state of tranquility and awareness, a state of concentration and insight. In our society, we are great believers in education. We believe that knowledge makes a cultured person civilized. Civilization, however, polishes the person superficially. Subject our noble and sophisticated gentleman to stresses of war or economic collapse, and see what happens. It is one thing to obey the law because you know the penalties and fear the consequences. It is something else entirely to obey the law because you have cleansed yourself from the greed that would make you steal and the hatred that would make you kill. Throw a stone into a stream. The running water would smooth the surface, but the inner part remains unchanged. Take that same stone and place it in the intense fires of a forge, and the whole stone changes inside and outside. It all melts. Civilization changes man on the outside. Meditation softens him within, through and through. Meditation is called the great teacher. It is the cleansing crucible fire that works slowly through understanding. The greater your understanding, the more flexible and tolerant you can be. The greater your understanding, the more compassionate you can be. You become like a perfect parent or an ideal teacher. You are ready to forgive and forget. You feel love towards others because you understand them. And you understand others because you have understood yourself. You have looked deeply inside and seen self-delusion and your own human failings. You have seen your own humanity and learned to forgive and to love. When you have learned compassion for yourself, compassion for others is automatic. An accomplished meditator has achieved a profound understanding of life, and he inevitably relates to the world with a deep and uncritical love.
So, William, how do you summarize this passage and what is your understanding?
Good. I'm listening intently. Meditation is intended to purify the mind. The Dhammapada is an ancient Buddhist text which anticipated Freud by thousands of years. It says, "What you are now is the result of what you were." A well-disciplined mind brings happiness. Meditation is called the Great Teacher. It is the cleansing crucible fire that works slowly through understanding. An accomplished meditator has achieved a profound understanding of life. He inevitably relates to the world with a deep and uncritical love. Meditation softens him within, through and through.
I think the idea that we can't make radical changes in our lives until we see ourselves clearly is an important one. I know for myself that I have often resisted change because I wasn't sure who I was or what I wanted in life. Meditation and other mindfulness practices have helped me to see myself more clearly and to make changes in my life that are more in line with my true nature. I also think the idea that we are responsible for our own happiness is an important one. Too often, we look to others to make us happy, or we try to control our environment in order to be happy. But the truth is that happiness comes from within. If we can learn to be content with ourselves and our own lives, then we will be much happier. The last point I wanted to make is that meditation is a great way to develop self-understanding and compassion. When we meditate, we become more aware of our own thoughts and feelings, and we can see more clearly how we react to the world around us. This self-awareness can help us to develop compassion for ourselves and for others.
Okay, well, in my opinion, the author is correct in saying that happiness and peace are the prime issues in human existence, and that we often cover up these goals with surface objectives. I agree that it is difficult to control everything and that it is preferable to try and control our minds instead. This mental culture can be difficult, but it is worth the effort. I think the author is saying that we often chase after superficial things that we think will make us happy, when in reality what we are really after is peace and happiness. However, it is difficult to achieve true peace and happiness because we are constantly driven by our desires. We can never get everything we want, and even if we did, we would still be unhappy because we would be trying to control everything. The author suggests that instead of trying to control everything, we should learn to control our minds and not be controlled by our desires. This is a difficult task, but it is preferable to the impossible task of trying to control everything. I think the author is onto something. We often chase after things that we think will make us happy, but in reality, they only provide us with temporary relief from our desires. We can never get everything we want, and even if we did, we would still be unhappy because we would be trying to control everything. The author suggests that instead of trying to control everything, we should learn to control our minds and not be controlled by our desires. This is a difficult task, but it is preferable to the impossible task of trying to control everything. I can relate to what the author is saying. I often find myself chasing after things that I think will make me happy, but in reality, they only provide me with temporary relief from my desires. I can never get everything I want, and even if I did, I would still be unhappy because I would be trying to control everything. The author's suggestion of learning to control our minds and not be controlled by our desires is a difficult task, but it is preferable to the impossible task of trying to control everything.